Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, the Week in Games. Thanks for joining me on this monthly installment of the Week in Games. Let's just get into it. We're rapidly approaching the tail end of the year, and that means there's going to be a lot more games coming up and shipping out, and that's pretty exciting as we get closer to Christmas, because it's almost time for Christmas lists and Christmas fun and Christmas eggnog and Christmas gaming, but maybe not Christmas eggnog on the Christmas gaming. Meh. Anyway, we'll see a general board games bump, so let's get right to the news. Okay, big Kickstarter explosion this month. A lot of new Kickstarter titles have coming out. I'm finding more and more that it's the ordering directly from places versus Kickstarter. I'm finding myself more and more seeing things Kickstarter focused. It's interesting. Not sure if I like it or not, but it is what it is. Spirit Island, one of my very, very favorite solo player experiences and a great 2-3 player experience, has a brand new expansion coming out called Jagged Earth. Now, there was already the original game and its own expansion, which there's a lot of meat, so you will play the original a lot. But this new expansion has a few new concepts that I think are interesting, so check it out if you want to back that. It'll be a while before you receive it. Tidal Blades, which is, if you haven't seen Grim Forest, which is probably one of the best production valued games I've received this year, the same company and designer are putting out Tidal Blades, which looks to have the same level of quality of components. Gameplay wise, I'm still a little unsure whether it's going to hit that niche for me or whether I should just let others enjoy it. But anyway, check it out. Cloudspire, which is really, really, artwork on that is just right up my alley, very top notch. The gameplay, it's 1 to 4, I think, and it's interesting, kind of like, it's just hard to describe, but check out Cloudspire on Kickstarter if you want to check that one. I will probably end up backing it because it's just intriguing. Just really, yeah, you have to see the artwork for itself. It's very, very vivid and very distinctive. Terraforming Mars digital version is now available on Steam, and it's been very mixed reviews. I've checked it out. It's a little pricier than average, $25, which it's higher. But I mean, if you're going to play it a bunch of times, if you play it 20 times, you're still playing, getting your money's worth. It's a question of whether it is or not. I've heard some mixed feelings about it, but people either really enjoy it or really are disappointed, and I guess the price point probably will polarize their opinion a little more as well. And finally, POTUS, hashtag POTUS, Kickstarter is winding down on its kickstarting phase. POTUS is right now probably my top game experience of 2018 back in February, and it is trying to find an audience, and it looks like it may or may not hit the Kickstarter stretch. It would be sad. I mean, my prototype copy gets played routinely, and so I would love to see this game about the first year of the Trump presidency actually find its way to a market. If you're interested in all in that, and you're interested with an open mind, knowing that it's not about Trump, it's about his first year, the first year of the presidency and all the factors that weigh in, and you like, say, Twilight Struggle, it isn't bad to check it out. It's not a bad game. In fact, it's, like I said, it's my top experience of 2018 thus far. So yeah, let's get to my question of the week. So, with Halloween coming up and all the scary, ghoulish things, Goo Power, one of the questions is, what is your most frightening gaming experience? And I assume the question meant, like, what games scared you? And, like, they're board games. They don't scare me. I've been through ghost stories. I've never won. I can take it. But there is one experience that it did make me think, like, what is the experience that I most remember as scary? It was one back in, I think, 2004, 2005. I went into a game store, this really dingy, dark, dirty, only game store we had locally at the time. Thank God that's changed. And went in a little place in Woodinville, and I was in there, and it didn't take long. I don't remember if I was playing a game or just spending a terrible amount of time looking at every single game like I was going to buy every one of them anyway. And a group of guys and the owner and the people started talking about how they wanted to assassinate the president. And I thought, well, that's not a topic I really want to be around. At the time, I think it was the pre-Obama years, so But it wasn't so much that, is that as time went on, it went on so long, and they start getting so vivid and so just intimate, intricate with how they wanted to do this, that it got so really uncomfortable. And I saw people starting to like leave uncomfortably, and I did too. I left and I never went back there again, because at that time, thankfully, other stores opened up. But I thought that was, you want the I mean, that's not like a funny spooky. That's more like that's creepy. And I learned then that that's not the place that I want to hang out. And of course, obviously, they wouldn't do it. But it was just the idea that they would be so into it. Almost maybe a role-playing experience for them, I guess. I don't know. Either way, that's my spookiest memory. And with that, let's get to my 3 games. Alright, on the front, it is October, and there are lots of scary games out. But we all know the Arkham horrors and the ghost stories and all that, but here's one that's a little wacky. Fear. Now, Fear could have been any premise, really. It's a Friedman Freeze game called Fear, because all Friedman Freeze's games, for the most part, start with F. But it's kind of an interesting take on blackjack, if you can imagine that. Clever. I liked it. I would probably play it again. It's one of those ones where you play through it. It's his fast forward series, which means you play through the entire deck over the course of like 10 or 11 games. Or how many, and each of these games, it kind of adds a little bit more over time. Then when you're done, you can play it again, although you know all the secrets. So it's not unlike Unlock, or games of, puzzle games, except that this one you can replay, and there's enough of a game element in there that you know what's coming, but it's still interesting to play through. Second off is my only Target purchase of the year, Megaland. Ryan Lockett, and I believe his daughter Mallory Lockett, created this game of pressure luck. If you like Celestia or other games where you kind of push in your luck a bit, this is right up the alley. I think it's actually pretty polished of a game. It's not going to rock your socks off, but sort of like Celestia meets Machikoro-ish kind of thing. But clever, check it out. And finally, my ship is come in, partners. Western Legends. I decided to take the plunge, even though generally I play 1 to 2 player games. I think this one's better 3 or 4 from what I've seen so far. I've simulated it by, with 2 or 3 fake imaginary me's, and it's okay, but it really is going to shine once you start getting like more numbers. But it's a great sandbox, and by that I mean you can play kind of in a whole lot of different play styles. At any given time, you can pick and choose whether you want to be good or bad, or you don't want to like travel around, or who you're going to take on and stuff. But components are top notch. It's definitely clever, and it has room for lots of expansions. I actually picked up one of the expansions, and I'm excited about that. But it's good. I don't know that it's ever going to dethrone Doomtown, because Doomtown is just, for me, the consummate Western game thus far. Although as far as thematic presentation, like an overall, hey, we're living in the Wild West, this one's definitely up there. It's probably second after Doomtown Reloaded. And with that, let's get to Tim's Tantrum. Get off my land. I'm still seeing a trend where there's an idea that because you wrote a how-to guide or pamphlet or something, that your rules can just be thrown together a little less precisely. I've seen 2 games now, I'm not going to mention them, but 2 games where the idea was, and even the designers even kind of touched on this in forum posts and such, that they thought that, the rules can be just laid out there, and here's the rules for how to play, but the how-to guide will give you all you need to know to get started. That almost never happens. The how-to guide almost always, for me, gets me started enough to be able to go, okay, this isn't touched on because they didn't want to talk about it yet, so I go to the rules and figure it out. It usually happens with split pamphlets, like here's a rule book, here's a play guide. Sometimes they pull it off great. Mage Knight, actually no, Star Trek Frontiers, I thought did a really good job of mixing it together. FFG does that all the time, like here's your play guide, play this, and then refer to the rules for the extra complicated stuff. That sometimes works, but there's a couple games that have come out that just blast that to heck, because they think, or it seems like they think that a play guide that gives you a basic idea is going to work, but it almost doesn't ever for me. An example is I start playing a game and you run into a situation that isn't touched on and you don't know what to do, so you go to the rule book to try to complement the play guide, and then you find out, and sometimes it's not clear where. I actually like it. maybe it's better to be, I don't know. It's an artwork and a science putting out a playbook or a rules guide. It's tough. My favorites are the ones where they give you the rules and then they give you absolute examples in those rules. And then at the end of the rule book, then they follow it up with like, here's a playbook. That's just me, but they're all over the map, and some games are more complex than others. I think the thing is, one of these games was so simple that it could have been described in like 3 pages, and instead there's a 25-page manual that doesn't really touch on things in any given order well enough, and then they're like, oh, but you don't need it because here's an intro guide which gives you like the first 2 turns, and then you find all these other things you gotta look up anyway. It's a common lament, but whatever. It would be nice. Life would be nice. Anyway, that's all we have for this week. Sorry I haven't done as many reviews. I'm going to start working back into that now that we're kind of closing down on some things, some work-related stuff that's kind of bumped up my hours there. But I would like to get some reviews out. There's some games that have come about that I think deserve some attention and description. So anyway, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next time on Harebrained Games.